Cosatu's nationwide strike tomorrow. The Federation says the protest is over rising retrenchments, high unemployment and soaring living costs. Cosatu spokesperson is Matthew Parks, joining us now for a conversation. Mr. Parks, good evening to you and thank you for your time. Let's understand why Cosatu has decided to embark on this nationwide strike and, in the process, prompting organized business to issue a statement about the very march you're about to embark upon.
Good evening, and thanks for having us, Claudia. Look, the withdrawal of workers, from the workplace, the right to strike is a critical sacrosanct right in the Constitution. It's a way for workers to express to government, to employers, in both the public and the private sector, that workers are not happy. And we don't think that any sober person should be happy with a 42% unemployment rate, a 60% youth unemployment rate, really entrenched levels of poverty, of inequality, a very slow economic growth rate, of endemic levels of crime and corruption, declining municipal and public services. So it's the way for workers to express to government and to employers that if they were not happy, they need to do much more, they need to do much more, much faster, because we've been raising this issue for quite some time. We have not seen sufficient progress by anybody from the government or from the private sector to really address what are fundamental ticking time bombs for all of us. And I think it's a chance for workers to say, we deserve better. So we don't want to simply have a situation where workers accept any job. We want to say also, how do we improve the lives of workers, the working conditions of workers, and really how do you get things moving in the country? Because at where we are right now, there are so many ticking time bombs. We just simply can't afford to keep quiet or to fold our arms when we see things are in real trouble.
Yeah. Let me quote directly from Kes Kuvadia. He is the BUSA CEO, Business Unity South Africa CEO. He says, and I quote, "At a time when our economy is under severe strain, such protests will only add further pressure and do not contribute to efforts to achieve sustainable economic recovery." How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so look, we don't think we can afford to keep quiet when these are real problems for workers, when many workers are seeing their jobs being slashed, going without being paid, are seeing their pension funds being stolen by employers, have not received increases to keep pace with inflation. So we think that if BUSA is genuine about addressing our common challenges as a country, then we could see the CEOs of the big companies, the mining, the bank companies, the retail companies taking salary cuts. We could see these very same companies, like in the mining industry, like in the retail sector, saying they're not going to retrench workers. And in fact, they're going to see how to increase the number of people employed, especially young people, through internships and artisanship programs. We really want to see from the private sector to say, look, government has made good progress with regards to ending load shedding. Can the private sector now drastically increase its level of investments in the South African economy, especially in new emerging sectors, in manufacturing, etc., in jobs creation programs? But we think it's a little bit rich for business to complain about life when it is workers who generate the wealth of this country, including the profits of these companies. It is workers' pension funds which keep these companies afloat. Yet when it comes to wages, when it comes to job security, or when it comes to pensions and medical funds being paid, it is always workers who are being pickpocketed. And this is a chance for workers to say to business, to BUSA, to government, we simply can't accept the status quo. And it's not in their interest either. We have seen in Zimbabwe's collapse the dangers of not addressing the fundamental challenges. We've seen in the July 2021 violence here in KZN and Gauteng, the real dangers of not addressing ticking time bombs. And we don't have an endless amount of time. We've been having these huge levels of unemployment for many, many years. And one day it's going to explode in all of our faces. And that's a price none of us can afford. So we really appeal to business. They've got to come to the party. They've got to invest, stop retrenchments, pay workers a living wage, and also look at ways to reduce unemployment drastically, not over some miracle fate of time over the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Final question, and it does again appear that business and labor, you are on something of a collision course here, Mr. Parks, because they are saying that they have long called for changes to the Section 77 of the Labour Relations Act. And my simple understanding of it is that process when you have reached a deadlock as workers trying to convince employers and you are now going on strike. So it's effectively the strike notice, that's Section 77. And they are now saying they're raising it again in order for this to be changed. Does that sound like a very hardline approach from business?
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's a technical issue, really. There are labour law discussions at NEDLAC, which will conclude soon, on the very issue, and I think we will find each other. But the fundamental issue is not about the filling of a form, getting a strike certificate, and so on. Yes, that's important to ensure workers can go on strike and protest and are legally protected from victimization. The fundamental challenge, which we'd want really business to focus on, is our 42.7% unemployment rate, our 1% economic growth rate, rising levels of retrenchments. That for us is the critical issue. Everything else really is academic besides that. If we don't address the unemployment crisis as a country, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb, and that is a danger none of us can afford, whether it's the wealthy CEOs of the private sector or it's the ordinary domestic and farm workers. But I think workers deserve better. We should not be proud to be a country where we are the most unequal society in the world. And again, from a simple economic perspective, we're not sure how business thinks we're going to grow the economy if workers can't afford transport to get to work and must walk long distances over many hours and come to work exhausted. And if workers can't afford the food, the medication, the clothes, etc., to be healthy, how will they be productive? We also don't know how will you grow an economy if you pay workers peanuts, a slave wage. Who exactly is going to buy the goods the very same companies that found Busa produce? So I think for us, it's time that business comes to the party. We have a common national interest. We all want to see businesses doing well, but also we need to see workers doing well if we're to really grow this economy and to enjoy an inclusive, prosperous society, which caters for everybody, not just those who live in Sandton, but also those who live in Khayelitsha and in Manenberg as well.
Yeah. Very, very interesting comments indeed from Business Unity South Africa, because the word that they use there is that this is actually what is leading to the misuse of this Section 77. And I wonder what your response would be to that you are, quote unquote, misusing this strike notice.
They're being petty men. So the strike certificate they complain is a couple of years old. But the issue is that the government and business have not resolved those issues. That's why they still remain relevant. We protested for the past decade plus about the issues of retrenchment, of unemployment, of poverty. We protested about the austerity budget cuts to key public and municipal services, about the issues of corruption and crime. And so, yes, those issues haven't been resolved. So we should continue to raise them. It would be a bit strange on our part if we just went quiet and said, well, we raised the issues previously, let's just hope for the better. And we're going to continue to raise them as Labour until they are addressed successfully. And some might say, what is the point of Cosatu protesting? But we have shown that over many years, when we protested issues, when we campaigned for them, be it from the SOD grant, which is the Foundation for Basic Income grant, be it the two-pot pension relief, giving relief to millions of workers, or the National Health Insurance, providing a foundation for universal health care. We managed to achieve all those things, and it wasn't easy. It took a lot of years of pushing and fighting and nagging and protesting and striking and so on.
Yeah.
People cursed it and so on. But at the end of the day, we could show progress. And we make progress because we put pressure on government and on business. That is our job as a trade union federation. And yes, we'll offend, we'll step on toes of those who are powerful. That is the nature of the democratic space. But we do so because we think society deserves better, especially workers. And we know we can do better as a country, and we must do better.
Matthew Parks speaks for the Labour Federation, Cosatu. Thank you very much for your time.